For 18 months, we've been locked in a cost of living crisis, but unlike many other countries, things here seem to be getting worse. Tonight, we might finally know why. It's the true blue fair income, you little ripper of inflation.
Ooh, what do you call this?
Homegrown inflation.
The remaining inflation challenge we're dealing with is increasingly homegrown and demand-driven.
It's got something sprinkled on it.
Seasoning.
Until now, Australia's inflation problem has largely been chalked up to global factors like the war in Ukraine and supply chain issues. But now, the RBA governor's laying the blame on Aussie soil.
What were you thinking?
I wasn't really.
Pointing the finger at our spending on sporting events and restaurants, as well as, controversially, our trips to the hairdresser and dentist.
The prices of all these services are rising strongly. Now, I do know that my message tonight probably won't resonate with some people.
Well, she was right about that last bit.
It's unfair.
We can't afford it. The governor needs to get real.
It's basic necessities.
I do a lot of that DIY, admittedly, including dentists.
And probably the parts of the community that have got the money that keep spending.
You've got to do it, mate. Looking after yourself and making yourself feel good and doing anything that we can in these times.
Social media are light over the comments.
Breaking. Bored people to lead the fight against inflation.
Just read that the RBA governor is lashing out at people for having dental treatments and haircuts. Damn, guilty as charged. I mean, Australia can cope with bad hair, but bad teeth? Madness.
Bullock following the rich tradition of RBA governors rubbing the public the wrong way.
Kids don't move out of home because the rent's too expensive or you decide to get a flatmate.
She was sounding a bit more hawkish on inflation than her predecessor, Philip Lowe, who you recall was not exactly the flavour of the month around the country.
So as we stare down the barrel of another year of looming interest rate rises, will former necessities become luxuries in the fight against inflation?
To help us figure it out, economics correspondent Shane Wright joins us now. Shane, are we really at the point where people need to stop getting their teeth cleaned to bring this under control?
Look, I've already started looking up how to make your own toothpaste. This is the first step. I've got a bowl for the haircut. And look, I've actually discovered that there are types of birds that have learnt how to use human hair to floss their beaks. So look, these are the things that we're going to have to do if we're going to bring inflation in this country under control.
Is it true, though? Like, are these actually the things driving inflation?
Well, according to the central bank, dentistry and hairdressing, going out for a burger and buying Taylor Swift tickets are contributing. Although, if you look, the inflation rates for some of these things are actually coming down. So maybe they're a bit behind the curve on what's actually driving inflation. But it goes to the broader point, which is Michelle Bullock, the RBA governor, reckons ultimately people are still spending too much. And the only way that the Reserve Bank can stop us doing that is by making it too expensive to go and spend stuff. And maybe going to see the dentist, going to get a haircut.
Well, given that raising interest rates just affects a small portion of the economy, will raising interest rates really stop people going to the dentist or to hairdressers?
Well, so far the Reserve Bank's lifted interest rates from 0.1 to 4.35% on a $600,000 mortgage. That's $1,600 a month that a lot of people have got less to spend. So that's how ultimately the Reserve Bank works. It's trying to rip money out of the spending pause of a lot of people. But for those people, it is really starting to hurt. And the Reserve Bank knows that, but ultimately that's the only lever it's got to pull. So
there's, been a lot of heat, shall we say, around the hairdressers and dentists line. Michelle Bullock has only been in the role a couple of months, but she's kind of being attacked for laying out what, according to her, is really just a fact. Do you think that RBA governors can ever really win in explaining this stuff to the public?
Oh, they could probably explain it a little better, but you don't become a central banker to make friends. There's the old saying in Canberra, if you want a friend in Canberra, bring a dog. Even central bankers would look down on that and say, oh, hold on, dogs are a bit expensive. Pet inflation is actually running faster than the inflation rates for the dentist and going to get a haircut. So, look, Rover might be next in the gun if at the central bank.
Hang on, well, why didn't she mention it then? Is she in the pocket of Big Pet?
Wow. What, you reckon Big Paw has sunk into the Reserve Bank?
Well,
who knows?
Come up with another explanation, Shane. Come up with any other way of telling me why she wouldn't mention it.
Look, maybe she prefers fish. Who knows? fish may be cheaper to keep.
Well, Shane, I don't have a pet and I haven't been to the dentist in 10 years, so I expect a thank you note from Michelle anytime soon.
That's a great head of hair you've got on.
Oh, thank you. I have a genuine question here, and maybe it's my lack of economic knowledge, but why does Michelle even have to give press conferences? It's like she's never giving good news. Just do the thing, let people see it. It's like she doesn't have to explain herself.
Well, one of the big roles of the Reserve Bank is actually to explain to people what it's doing and why. And you can argue whether they're doing a good job at that. In fact, Phil Lowe, Michelle Bullock's predecessor, was the first Reserve Bank governor to actually give a press conference, and he did that to explain why they were cutting interest rates to all-time lows and creating hundreds of billions of dollars. Next year, you're actually going to see Michelle Bullock give her first ever press conference. Is going to happen in February next year. I've already got it in the diary. It's that big an event for us central banking nerds, because one of the changes that the bank is going through is actually going, rightio, we've made a decision, now we're going to explain what the hell we're up to.
Shane, we do enjoy talking to you, though. We've got homemade toothpaste. We've also got Big Paw. Thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure, guys.